are. Shout out to Man Up Worldwide for the hoodie. Fathers over everything. Again, you can pick up a copy of Thinking with the Big Head. But this is just food for thought. And the food for thought for this week is going to be a three-part lesson. And that three-part lesson is nothing is ever created perfect. Everything evolves. And it's ironic that we hit this subject today when time changed today. And we're facing a situation where there's, lawmakers that's trying to change the situation where it stays daylight savings time all the time, and it doesn't change. But the topic of this is that everything in life changes, and that there's these evolutionary periods that all creatures, all beings, all life on this planet goes through. It's like seasons, and these seasons allow us to evolve. But most importantly, nothing is created perfect. Everything has to be worked on. Everyone has to be worked on. And that's just important because we're living in a day and time where you're starting to hear and see people with their focus being that the glory was in the past. If your glory is in the past, then the future is looking mighty bleak for you. And so the focus of this topic is we're going to be looking at, again, the principle that everything changes, that we are in a time of change, and then that there's a change to come. And that is that we're evolving. We're evolving as a planet. We're evolving as a species, as a people, as a culture, as a government. All of these things are in the fluid process of changing, and hopefully we would like to say for the better, because that's how things are. Things improve. But we also have to understand that certain aspects of evolution and change are outside our scope of time. Meaning, things in the spiritual nature, they operate outside of time because there is no time in spirituality. When we're talking about geological events, those events happen outside the scope of one man's lifetime. So again, that's just this average of how change is measured and when we expect change to come, and the fact that we live in a time where information is exchanged so fast, and the exchange of information moving at light speed opens the door for change to happen immediately, because the word got around so fast. And so as we look into this week's lesson, the key is, who is fighting change? We can see it clearly in the two major topics that we'll hit on as far as science is concerned, in the science aspect of the lesson, and that is climate change and the pandemic. Two concepts that are happening outside of man, but that are influencing man, and they're influencing man to change. But we see man putting up a fight. But we also see that man is recognizing the situation, and there's a choice being made. And this choice is something that we're going to talk about in the last video of, we are here at this evolutionary point where things are changing and we're reaching for a new level of perfection. But there's two types of change that's going on here. And yes, as you're always going to point out, I'm out here and I'm super ashy because the air is super dry out here. But the most important thing, again, for us to focus on moving forward in just our overall aspect of life is that perfection is to come. It is something that is worked towards. It is something that we evolve into. It's not a state that we've come out from. So anybody that want to tell you or give you the idea that we're coming out of a state of perfection into a worse state is in a position to leave you behind for what is to come, because the state that we are in, or that we currently were in, was really a state of darkness. And we're going to get into that in depth. And that is, when you think about darkness, you think about the closed mind, the 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 absence of light, the absence of truth, the absence of knowledge and wisdom of the things that are true. And so we're going to look at this more in depth in the coming videos, because that's part of the change. The change is going to be, there's going to be new information, new perspectives, new models coming from new people who weren't ever allowed in the game before, because of the time that we were living in. And again, lastly, I'm going to end this video on, we're going to be talking about two separate things in the next two videos. Both of them are going to be centered around the change that is happening, the change that is to come, and just focusing on the fact that that perfected state that we look for is something that is always worked upon, and we don't really understand it or know if we reached it to the end of the game. So stay tuned for the next video, where we get into where are we in this changing process. And with that, let's go. Power up.